Welcome to Get Your Play Online. I am Lindy, and today we are doing our Arts and Crafts Hour. So I am super excited to show you how to make my little friend the Very Hungry Caterpillar necklace. So let me show you a little bit closer so you can see. I made this one ahead of time to show you. So we've got our necklace. Let's make sure we got it in the face. We've got our Very Hungry Caterpillar necklace, and you might recognize this caterpillar because it looks very similar to a book that you might know, The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. So we've got a caterpillar that looks just like the one in the book, and once we're done making it, we can wear it while we read the book. So I am super excited to get started and show you how to make these. So first, I'm going to show you all the things that you'll need if you want to follow along at home. So the first thing that we're going to need is a paper plate. So one of these that we can toss away at the end. And we are going to need some dry pasta. So the kind that hasn't been cooked yet and it's nice and hard. And we need pasta with holes in the middle. So can you see right there? There's a hole in the middle. And that way we can put our string through our pasta so that we can get it on our necklace. So we are going to need 4 pieces of our pasta that hasn't been cooked and has a hole in it. So good types are, let's see, I have my boxes over here. I've got rigatoni pasta, but you can also use, I think penne pasta would work also. So we've got penne you could use also. I've got the rigatoni here. So we're going to count out 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we are going to put them on our paper plate. And then we are going to need, if you notice on my necklace, those pieces of pasta are green. So we are going to need some green paint for our necklace. So we're going to use some green paint. And of course, if you're painting, you always need a paintbrush. Now, if you don't have any green paint at home, don't worry, you could also use a green marker and color on your pasta instead. So I'll mention that when we get to that step. So we've got our green paint, and we're going to need some red paper to make our face of our caterpillar necklace and all of the other shapes in our necklace. And then we're also going to need either some crayons or some markers so that we can draw our face on our caterpillar. And I think it's great to have a pencil to draw our shapes just in case we need to erase, because sometimes we don't draw it perfect on the first time, and that's okay because we've always got our eraser. And then we're going to need either some string like this or yarn or string. And if you don't have that, you could always use a pipe cleaner and make a bracelet instead. And these are great if you have trouble stringing our pasta onto our piece of yarn. These are awesome because it's a little bit easier to get those pieces of pasta on. So you could use this instead and make a bracelet. But we are going to be using, if you're wanting yours to look just like the one that I showed you at the beginning, we're going to want to use yarn or string like this. And then the last thing that we're going to need is a hole punch, just like this one. And then tape can be helpful. We're going to have some clear tape on hand to be helpful, but if you don't have that, that's okay. So our very first step, before we get started, I wanted to let you know there's a few things in this activity that can be a little bit tough that are great to have an older sibling or an adult to help you with. So we are going to maybe need a little bit of help when we do our hole punching and when we measure our string to make sure that it's the right size for our neck and to tie it together. So towards the end, we might want to have an older sibling or an adult to help us with those steps. But all the other steps, you're going to be great to do all on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that I like to do whenever I'm painting is to make sure that I have on a shirt that I won't be too upset if it gets dirty, because sometimes the paint doesn't go where we want it to go and it gets on our shirts. So we want to make sure it's a shirt that it's okay if it gets dirty. And then I also like to put down either some paper or some newspaper on the place that I'm doing my painting, just in case that part gets dirty too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and put some newspaper down. And if you have any paper or newspaper, you could do that too. So I'm going to go ahead and push you down with the laptop so that you can see. And I've got my newspaper that I'm just spreading out. And then we're going to go ahead and get our paper plate that I told you about earlier with our 4 pieces of pasta. And we are going to put our green paint onto our paper plate. So if you have it in a tube or in a container like this, you want to make sure you shake it up really good first. And then we're going to pour a medium-sized amount onto our paper plate. So go ahead and pour a medium amount. So about the size of a golf ball would be a good amount of paint. Oh, let's see. Push you back a little so you can see. There we go. So we have our about a little bit bigger than a golf ball piece size circle of paint. And we'll make sure you put the top back on your paint so it doesn't spill. And we've got our handy dandy paintbrush. And the first thing that we are going to be doing is painting our pasta green. And that way we'll have a chance for it to dry while we do our other parts of our caterpillar so that we're going to be ready to put it on and wear it and it won't still be wet. All right, let's get started. So we're going to take our paintbrush and we're going to dip it into our green paint. And then we're going to be painting the outside of our piece of pasta. So we don't need to paint the middle inside, just the outside. So all around our pasta. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing up close. All right, so let's hold our pasta in our fingers. And with your handy dandy paintbrush, let's go ahead and dip it into the paint. And you don't need a lot of paint for this because the more paint that you use, the longer it will take to dry. And I'm excited to wear mine, so I want it to dry quick. So let's go ahead and paint. We're gonna hold your paintbrush in your fingers and try to get the fingers that you're holding your piece of pasta with out of the way of the brush so we don't get too much paint on them. And we're going to touch it onto your pasta and spread it back and forth. And then you just turn it with your fingers so you can get to the other side that hasn't been painted yet. And strokes back and forth until all of your piece of pasta has been painted green. So it can look just like the Very Hungry Caterpillar in the book. Back and forth, back and forth. All right, so there you go. We've got our piece of pasta and it's all painted on all sides except for the middle. So we're gonna put it down on our paper plate to dry while we finish the other ones. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a little music on while we paint the rest of our pieces of pasta. Here we go. Oh. I think it needs to download. Okay, we'll let it download and then we'll play it. All right, so we are going to take our paintbrush and go ahead and do the next piece of our pasta. Has anyone ever painted pasta green before? Or any other color? It's pretty fun to paint pasta, huh? And remember, if you don't have paint, this is the step where you can use a marker to paint also, or to color your piece of pasta green. So you would just color all the same as we're painting, all the sides except for the middle. So back and forth with your paintbrush. Back and forth, back and forth. To all of your sides are covered. All right, so I've got number 2 down, and I'm going to put it just next to the first one that we painted so it has a chance to dry. And we're going to move on to our 3rd piece of pasta. We got our 3rd piece of pasta, and same as the last 2, paint back and forth, back and forth. And if you don't have paint like this, you could also use watercolor paint, would work as well. So lots of different ways that we can turn our pasta green. back and forth, back and forth. All right, so there we go. We've got our third piece of pasta all the way colored green. So that means we have just one piece of pasta left. So here we go for our last piece of pasta. Dip our paintbrush into our paint. So we've got it on our paintbrush, and holding our piece of pasta in our fingers. And we're going to paint back and forth, back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. So the whole piece of pasta is covered except for the middle, because we wouldn't be able to see inside if the middle was colored. So we don't need to worry about that part. All right, there we go. We've got all 4 pieces of pasta painted. And now, if your fingers look anything like mine, they got a little bit of green paint on them. So at this point, we are going to either take a paper towel and wipe off our fingers, or if you want to go wash your hands real quick, you can do that too. So I'll wait just a minute while you can either get a paper towel to wipe off those fingers or go wash your hands so that we can start nice and clean when we go on to our red circles. I'm just wiping away at that paint. So even if it's still on my fingers, it won't come off on the paper when we go to our very next step. Okay. All right. So now that I've gotten the extra paint off my fingertips, we're ready to go to our next step. So let me show you on the necklace that I made ahead of time. So we just painted all of our pieces of pasta green, these parts of our caterpillar, and now we need to make the red circles. So if you notice, we've got one red circle at the front, and it's a little bit bigger than the other red circles that we have. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to put my paper plate with my pieces of pasta and my green paint, and also my paintbrush off to the side so that it can take a few minutes to dry. It's going to take about 5 minutes for our green pasta to dry. So we'll be working on the next step while that happens. And I'm going to get my red paper. And if you don't have red paper, you could take a second to draw on white paper with a red marker or crayon to make it red. So we are going to grab our pencil. So remember, we love pencils because they have erasers just in case our shapes, we want to make them. We don't make the perfect shape first, then we can always erase and try again. So that's what I love about pencils. So we are going to first make our shape, our circle shape. And we are going to make the one that's going to turn into our caterpillar's face. So just like on our book, here's our caterpillar's face on our book. And if you notice, it's a little bit bigger than some other parts of his body. So we are going to make this circle the size of about a golf ball. So about that big is how big we're going to make our first circle. So I'm going to show you up close. I'm going to take my pencil in my hands, and I'm going to draw a circle that's just about the size of a golf ball, so that big. Put my pencil down and draw that circle. So let me show you. Let's see. I'm not sure how well you can see that because it's in pencil, so I'm going to go over it with a crayon so that you can see just a little bit better. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go over the line that I just traced and make that circle shape again. that's just about the size of a golf ball. Now you don't need to do this part in crayon. I'm just doing it to show you a little bit better. If you did it in pencil, then you are perfect. I'll just show you just so you can see my circle a little bit better. And there we go. We have our circle shape for our caterpillar's face. And so now we need our handy dandy scissors, and we're going to go ahead and cut out our caterpillar face. So our red circle. We're going to take our scissors and open them up wide, and we are going to open and put the paper right in the middle of our scissors, and then close down with your fingers so it starts cutting into the paper until you get to the line for your circle. And then we're going to try to cut right around the line. See if I can do it upside down to show you. So start turning, curving your scissors to go along the line of your circle. I can curve my paper with my fingers too, and that helps me cut along my line. All the way, keep cutting until your circle comes out of your paper. And there we have our first circle that's going to make my caterpillar's face. Awesome. Do you know what you're going to name your caterpillar? I've just been calling mine Very Hungry Caterpillar, but I bet you have some really creative names. I would love to hear those. Make sure you comment what you think the perfect name for your Very Hungry Caterpillar would be. Okay, so we have our first circle that's going to be our face, but now we need to make a few more to make the rest of the body of our caterpillar. So let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we need 4 other circles, and those ones are a little bit smaller. So my caterpillar's face is a little bit bigger than the circles in the body. So I'm going to take my caterpillar face circle and I'm going to put it on my paper so that I can see how big that one was and try to make it a little bit smaller than that circle. So I'll make a line around since they're both red, it's tough to see. So I'm going to draw a line. You don't need to do this part. I'm just doing it to show you so you can see a little bit better on the video. I'm going to draw a line around the circle that I cut out so that you can see how big it was, and then see how big I'm making my next circle. So you can see I made a line around the circle that's going to be our caterpillar's face. And now we're going to draw one that's just a little bit smaller right next to it. And if that helps you to see on your paper better, then you can do just like I did, where we put our circle that we just cut out down and draw a line around it so you can see a little bit better to see how big that one was. So remember, we made it about the size of a golf ball. And now we're going to make our second circle a little tiny bit smaller. So we can see right there, so we can compare. And this one's going to be smaller than our first circle. There we have our second circle that's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to do it over again in crayon so you can see just a little bit better. But remember, you don't have to do the crayon one because you did it in pencil and yours is ready to be cut out as soon as you've drawn your circle. So with my darker, I'm going to put your pencil down on the paper and curve that line. Keep drawing all the way till it connects to the other end. So there you can see my second circle is a little bit smaller than the one we just cut out for our caterpillar's face. And now we're going to cut out that second one that we drew that's a little bit smaller with our scissors. All right, so grab your scissors and put your fingers in the holes. And remember, we're going to open up our scissors wide and put the paper all the way to the middle of the scissors. And we're going to close down with our fingers and keep cutting until we get to the line for our circle. There we go, I'm at my line. So now I'm going to curve my hand around so that I can stay on the circle line. Curving my hand. And I can also use the hand that's not cutting and turn the paper to help me stay on my circle line. So I'm using this hand to curve so that my scissors stay on my line. And you're going to keep staying on that line and cut around all the way until we get to the other side and it comes out. So now we have 2 circles. If I can find my first circle. Oh no, what happened to my first circle? Oh, there it is. It was hiding. It was the very hiding caterpillar instead of the very hungry caterpillar. So now I've got 2 circle shapes. I've got my big one that's the size of a golf ball, and I've got one that's a little bit smaller. Now, remember we looked at our caterpillar and we saw that we have the face, and then we have 4 circles that make the body. So we just did 1 small circle. That means we have 3 more to do. So what I like to do to make sure that they are similar sizes, which means they're very alike in size, they almost are the same size, is that I'm going to put mine on the paper and trace around it. So you can do this, or you can try to just draw another circle that's about the same size. But I like to put my circle on the paper and then hold it down with my finger and use my pencil to trace around the circle I just cut out, so the smaller one, and make sure that it's about the same size. Because it's a lot harder to trace it than make an identical circle. So, there we go. So I'm going to keep tracing all around until the whole circle has been traced. So you can see I've got, let's see how well you can see. I've got a line all the way around my circle. And we're going to do that. Remember, we needed to make 3 more circles. So we're going to do that 2 more times because we just did our trace. We made 1 trace circle. Now we're going to do 2 more trace circles. And I'm going to do mine in crayon this time so that you can see a little bit better. But remember, you can keep yours in pencil. So I'm going to, now we just finished one right here. So I'm going to pick up my circle, the smaller one, and I'm going to put it over to the side. Use your pencil to trace all around that circle. So we can make another one that's the same size. Use your finger to hold it in place. There we go. And then when I move it out, we have a circle. So now we need to do 1 more circle. So let's find another spot on our paper. Hold it down with your finger and use your pencil. Go around that circle. So my pencil is kind of touching the outside of my circle that I cut out, but it's drawing on the paper underneath. Keep going around, and I might have to move my finger to get out of the way so that I'm still holding it. And keep drawing all the way around until I touch the line that I started at. So I connected it. Ta-da! So now I've got 3 more circles. 1, 2, 3, and the one that I cut out. So 4. So now I have 4 of the exact same size circles. And I already cut out one, and now it's time to use our scissors to cut out our 3 other circles that we have on our paper. So decide which one you want to cut out first and open those scissors up. Fingers in the holes, open your scissors up. Find a spot on your paper, the edge of your paper that's close to this first circle that you want to cut out. So I'm going to cut this one out, and I'm going to open my scissors and cut at the edge until I get to the line that I drew for my circle. And once I get to that line, then it's time to curve our cutting line so that we can stay on the line that we drew for our circle. Cut, cut, cut right along that line, and I'm curving my hand as I go so that I can stay right on my circle. Snip, snip, snip. You're going to keep cutting all the way until your circle comes out of the paper. Ta-da! We've got 2 more circles to cut out. Open those scissors, find a spot on your paper, and cut all the way until you get to your circle. And then once I come to the circle line, I'm going to stop and start cutting on that line. Curve my hand as I'm cutting. Turn, turn, turn. Turn, turn, turn. Turn my hand, snip, snip, snip. Turn my hand, snip, snip, snip. All the way until I get to the other side from where I started. And I love it when the shapes that we're cutting come away from the paper. I love that part. All right, we have one more circle to cut out. This is the one I drew in pencil, so I'm going to do it in crayon really quick so that you can see it a little bit better as I'm cutting out. Okay, so I've got my scissors and open them up wide. Find the circle that you're cutting out, and we are going to put that paper into the middle of our scissors and then snip by closing your fingers. And I'm going to keep going all the way until I get to the line where my circle started. And then I'm ready to turn my hand and stay on that line while I'm cutting. Turn, cut, cut, cut. Turn, cut, cut, cut. You're going to be a pro at cutting out circles by the time that we're done doing this, because you've done 5 circles now. You are a circle cutting professional. You're super good at it by now. Anytime we practice at something, we always get better at it. All right, keep cutting, keep cutting, keep cutting all the way until circles out of our paper. So now we've got we've got our, let's see, I think I misplaced one of my circles. Oh, there it is. I've got my big circle that's going to be my caterpillar's face. Oh, upside down. And then I've got my smaller ones that are going to be in the caterpillar's body with the green noodles that we painted earlier. There. And we've got 4 of those. I got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Awesome job. Now we get to do a little bit of coloring. So we're going to take either your crayons or your markers, whichever one you have, and we are going to make a face for our caterpillar. So let me show you what the one on the book looks like. So we've got a mouth, and they've got a green mouth in the book, and then we've got eyes. So we've got green, they're oval, so they're kind of like circles that are smushed with a yellow line outside. And then we've also got these antennas, kind of like ears, and they almost look like upside down U's. So if we made a U, that made it upside down. So we're gonna make our face look similar to the one in the book. So our first thing, once you get your markers or your crayons, is that we are going to get that big circle, the one that's the size of the golf ball, because that's what we are going to be doing our coloring on. And I'm going to do the drawing first on a piece of white paper so that I can do it a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get out the colors that we need. So we just talked about how we're going to need a green mouth. So let's go ahead and find the green in our colors. So there's my green. And we also found a yellow rim outside the eye. So we need to get our yellow crayon. There's my yellow. And then we need to make some ears. So our antenna. And I'm going to make mine brown. So we've got all the colors that we need. So the first thing that we're going to do is, I'll show you my face here. We're going to be making our green mouth, and that's kind of like towards the middle of our circle. So you see that green mouth? That's what we're going to make first, towards the middle of our circle. And it's kind of a circle shape, but it's kind of smushed a little bit this way. So I'm going to draw a big one on my white paper first so you can see, and then we'll draw one together on our circle in the middle of our circle. So I'm going to be using my green crayon or markers if you're using markers, and I'm going to make a circle shape that's kind of long this way. And it's like a circle that's been kind of smushed like this. So it's going to be, do it right here so you can see a little bit better. So we're going to do a circle that's been kind of smushed on the upside and from the downside. It's kind of an oval shape. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and color it in. Let's try to stay inside the line that you just drew. And remember, I'm just drawing this to show you a little bit better first, so you don't need to do it on an extra piece of paper. So that's about what the shape that we're going to be drawing. I wanted to show you a little bit bigger because it's going to be so tiny on our caterpillar's face because caterpillars are so little. So that's what we're going to draw. And we're going to be doing it on our big circle, the one that we drew first and cut out first. That's the size of a golf ball. So let's go ahead and draw this shape on the middle of our circle. And so it's going to have to be smaller since our circle is smaller than that paper that I just drew on. So here I got I'm going to hold on to it with my fingers so that it doesn't move around when I'm trying to draw. And take your green and try to find about the middle of your circle. So there's about the middle of my circle. And I'm going to draw that oval shape where it's long this way. So it's like a circle that's been smushed on the top and smushed on the bottom. there's my shape. That's my caterpillar's mouth. And now I'm going to go ahead and color it in. So I'm going to color back and forth, trying to stay inside the line I just drew. Awesome job. All right, now we're ready to draw our eyes. So let's look at our eyes again. So these ones are oval shapes also, but they are long ovals. So they look tall this way, and they look like they've been squished on the sides. So it's like a circle that's been squished on both sides. So it's a tall oval. So I'm going to do it again on the white paper so you can see a little better, and then we'll both do it together on our orange or our red circle. So this one you're just watching, so you don't have to do anything right now. So we're making the same shape, but this time we're making it go up and down. And we're doing 2 of them. So it's going to be above our nose, and we're going to have 2. One right here and one right there. So our oval, it's our long circle that's squished on the sides. That's going to be the first shape. And then we're going to do one just like it right next to it. Another oval. That's tall. And then we're going to color it in with our green. Just like that. So let's go ahead and get our red circles. So we both got our red circles. And we are ready to make those eyes right above the mouth that we did. So make those long ovals that looks like circles that's been smushed on both sides. So go right above our mouth and draw that oval shape that's tall. And then we're going to do one right next to it again. Ta-da! And go ahead and color it in. Great job. Now we're going to take our yellow and we're going to draw an outline around the green eyes that we did. So we're just going to go around the green. Take that yellow, go around the green that we just made. On both circles. Hopefully you can see because my circle is so tiny. There we go. Just like the caterpillars are so small. And now the last thing for our face is that we are going to make the antenna, and they are going to look like an upside down U. So I'm going to do it on this one first. Remember, you don't have to do this part. It's just showing you the shape that you're going to do a little bit bigger. So a U looks like this. This shape. And now we're going to make that shape upside down. And we're going to do one over one of our eyes and one over the other eye. So I'm going to start down close to my eye, put my crayon or marker down, and draw up, do a little curve, and then draw down. But I'm not going to close the bottom. See how that's not closed at the bottom? And then I'm going to do another one right above my other eye. So put my pencil down, draw up, curve, and back down. And then we'll color it in. So let's go ahead and do it on our caterpillar face. So hold it down with your fingers so it doesn't move around when you're trying to draw. Go right above one of your eyes and put your pencil or your crayon down, draw up, curve, and draw down. And then one more over the other eye. Draw. So I found my second eye, and I'm going to draw up, curve, and down, but we're not going to connect the line. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and color in our antenna. So try to stay in those lines. Perfect. Now we've got our face. So we've got all of our face, we got all our body pieces, and we've got our face drawn. So we're getting so close to one of my favorite parts of this activity, when we get to string everything on our string. And to be able to do that, we need to have holes in everything. So we already have holes in our noodles. Now we need to make holes in all of our red circles. And so I mentioned at the very beginning that there's a couple steps that you might want a little bit of help with because they're kind of tricky. So this is a part that I want you to go get an adult or an older sister or brother that can help you use our hole punch, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do, let's start on our smaller circles, the ones that we didn't draw a face on. And I'm going to hold the hole punch in my hands. So I'm going to hold the long parts, and I'm going to put the paper right in the middle here. And I want my hole to be in the middle of my red circle. So I'm going to hold my paper sideways, and I'm going to put the circle in the middle of the hole punch, just right there in the middle. And then I'm going to squeeze my hands down on the hole punch to make the hole. So I've got my circle in there, and I'm going to hold it sideways just so you can see better. I've got my circle in the middle of my hole punch. So right in the middle is my hole punch. And then I'm going to close my hand together, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until you hear crunch. And then when you let go, a little tiny circle comes out. And we made a circle in the middle of our circle. So it's a circle in a circle. And we're going to do that with all of our smaller squares. So the 4 smaller squares. So put that hole punch in the middle of our circle and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze with your hands until the little tiny piece of red circle comes out, and you're left with a circle with a tiny, tiny circle come out. Let's do it to our third circle. Put it in the middle. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Up and circle in a circle. One last time. This is our last circle for our body. So the smaller circles that we cut out. Put that hole punch, line it up in the middle of our circle, and squeeze, 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 squeeze. Great job. So we did all 4 of our body circles. Now they all have holes so that we can string them onto our string. So for our face circle, instead of going in the middle because we have our little mouth there, and we don't want to make a hole punch on our mouth because we did such a great job drawing our mouth. So instead, we are going to do a hole punch at the top in between our 2 antennae. So right about right there, in between our 2 antennae. So we're going to take our hole punch, and I'm going to do it this way so you can see better. And I'm going to put the part that makes the hole right at the top in between my 2 antennae. And then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And we have a hole in the middle of our antenna at the top. Perfect. So now all of our red circle shapes that we spent so much time drawing and cutting, they are all cut out and have hole punches in them. So they are ready to be strung onto our string to make our necklace. Let's check now to see how we're doing with our painted noodles. So I am going to show you mine. So what I like to do is use my finger to touch on the noodle to see if it's dry. So I look at my finger and make sure there's no paint that came off. And as long as no paint came off, that means that we are ready to use our noodles. So I'm going to go ahead and take my noodles off my plate. And let's go ahead and get a piece of string so that we can start stringing everything together. So this is another part that's a little bit tricky. So if you've got an older sister or brother or an adult around, this is part that they might want to do for you or to give you a little bit of help with. So I'm going to take the end that has an end and I'm going to hold it between my fingers and I'm going to pull it behind my head. So now it's resting in front. And I'm going to hold that end in between my fingers again. And I'm going to decide how long I want my necklace. So I want mine to be about there. So I'm going to find where my ribs are, right about where they end. So that bony part right there. And I'm going to pull this side right to the end of my ribs, that bone where it ends and meets the soft part of your belly. And then I'm going to hold the other side with my fingers and pull them together. So now they're pulled together. And I'm going to hold on to the long side that's connected to this with my fingers. I'm going to keep that spot because that's where I'm going to cut using my scissors. So I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and hold that spot with my finger and go ahead and cut right there. Perfect. So now we have the right length to make our necklace. And the next step that we're going to do is I'm going to take away my newspaper so you can see my table a little bit better. And this is the part that I said we don't really use the tape for our activity, but it can make it a little bit easier to string everything together. So what I like to do is take my string and I'm going to put it down on my table and I'm going to tape one side to the table so that then when I string everything on it, nothing can fall off the other side. So I'm going to take my tape, pull a piece off, and rip. And then I'm going to take it and tape down the very end on the table. So push that tape in on the sticky side to the table so that it's holding down my piece of yarn. And now it's stuck on the table. And we are ready to get started. So let's make sure we have all of our 4 painted green pieces of pasta and our 4 small circles and 1 head, 1 face for our great caterpillar. And we're ready to string it together so we have a face and a body for our caterpillar necklace. And we are going to be putting it together using a pattern. So this is super exciting. We're going to be using an every other pattern. So that means that every time we use a red circle, next we're going to be using a green pasta. So red circle, green pasta. Red circle, green pasta. And the first thing that we're going to do is put the face on. So let's go ahead and hold the end of our string in our hands, in our fingers. I'm going to hold it in my fingers so a little bit of the end is coming out. So this is the end that's not taped down. And then I'm going to hold in my other hand my face. And I'm going to put this string through the hole. So let's go ahead and hold that string in this finger and thread it through the hole. And this can be a little bit tricky and sometimes it takes a few tries to get it in. I'm going to push it all the way through and then with this finger I'm going to hold on and pull down. So now we've got a face on our caterpillar, on our necklace. Next, since we just used our red circle, can you remember the pattern we're using? Red, green, red, green. So we just used a red circle. So next we're going to use a green pasta. So same thing, we're going to hold the end of the yarn or string in our finger And we're going to take the pasta, and sometimes the pastas can be a little bit trickier because they're longer, so it's a little harder to get the string through. I'm going to hold it in my finger and push it all the way through to the other side, and then with this hand, pull down. So we just used green pasta, so next is one of our small circles, the one that didn't have the face because we already put our face on. So hold it into your fingers, thread it through the hole, and pull all the way down. We've got part of our caterpillar. And next, we just use a red circle. So can you remember what's next? Green pasta. We're going to thread, hold it in your finger, find the opening, push that thread through all the way until it pokes out the other side, and then grab it with your fingers and pull it all the way down. We just did a green pasta, so now we're ready for red circle. So red circle, hold that string, push it through the other end, and pull down. And after red circle comes green pasta. I'm going to push it into my pasta, keep pushing until it pops out the other side, and pull down. And then we just did green pasta, so green pasta, red circle, great job. So hold it in your fingers, pull it through the hole, and down. And so we just did our red circle, so what's next? You guessed it, green pasta. Hold it into your fingers, push it through the other end, pull it out the other side, and then last but not least, we should have one red circle left. So let's go ahead and push it through the hole, pull it out the other side. And now we're gonna go ahead and take the piece of tape off the table. And now we have caterpillar. We did such a great job. Make sure. So the last thing that we have to do is we need to tie it so that it doesn't come off our neck. Now this is another step that's a little bit tricky, so I want you to make sure that you have a little bit of help for this step. So we're going to take the two ends and we're going to crisscross. So we're pretty close to the end of our strings. We made a crisscross, and then we are going to take this side and push it this way. And I'm going to hold it with my finger. And then the other side, the other way. And now I've got a little hole in the middle there. And I'm going to take one of my ends and push it forwards and then backwards into the hole and pull tight. And then we have to do that one more time. So I'm going to take this end, go that way, other end, cross it, going the other way. And can you see that little circle right there? Now we take one of the ends and push it forwards, then backwards, and through our hole. And then we're going to pull tight, and we made a knot. Great job! And we've finished our Very Hungry Caterpillar necklace. Let's go ahead and put them on and read the Very Hungry Caterpillar while we're wearing our awesome Very Hungry Caterpillar necklace. And I cannot wait to see what you decided to name yours. So make sure that you take a picture and put it under the comments so I can see what yours looked like, and let me know what you named yours, because I cannot wait to see how creative you were with yours and your name. So we have The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. I love this book. We have such beautiful pictures. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. There's the egg. What do you think is going to happen to the egg? On Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop, out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar, just like the one that we have on our necklace. Well, there's a tiny caterpillar, and we have a caterpillar on our necklace. He started looking for some food. Sounds like he was hungry. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, but he was still hungry. 4 strawberries is a lot of strawberries for a little tiny caterpillar. He must have had a really big appetite, huh? On Friday, he ate through 5 oranges, but he was still hungry. Wow, that's a lot of food for a caterpillar, huh? On Saturday, he ate through 1 piece of chocolate cake, 1 ice cream cone, 1 pickle, 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 slice of salami, 1 lollipop, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 sausage, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of watermelon. Wow. Which one of those things, if you could have any of them, would you eat right now? I think I would have the ice cream cone. That night, he had a stomach ache. I'm not surprised. He ate so much food, didn't he? The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through 1 nice green leaf, and after he felt much better. And look at all the little holes in the leaf, just like the holes that we punched into our circles. Isn't that so cool? Now he wasn't hungry anymore. He wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and what do you think's going to happen? Let's find out. He was a beautiful butterfly. Oh, so cool. So now our caterpillar has turned into this beautiful butterfly after he came out of his cocoon. I just love that story, and I think it's so cool that we have a necklace that matches our caterpillar from the book. I had so much fun making that with you today, and I hope you have a blast wearing your Very Hungry Caterpillar necklace all around. You should be so proud because they turned out great. And remember, I would love to see it, so make sure you comment what you named yours and a picture so I can check it out. And hopefully you can join us next Sunday at 3 for more arts and crafts on Get Your Play Online. Bye, friends.